Dallas, good to see you.
Boy, good to see you.
I have to say, you have produced my childhood, my teenage years, my adulthood, all of it.
Yes.
What's by far your favorite song that you produced?
Wow. That's a good one. Probably I'm Pretty from TLC.
Okay.
I think it's because like then we'd get fan mail and letters of people who would just say stuff like, this song changed my life, I had cancer and I was a kid and I didn't know it was about, what's on the inside instead of the outside. And so we get letters like that all the time about that song. So back before emails. Yes,
They sent it via pigeon?
yeah, they just fly over. But it was, it was probably Pretty just because I felt like it had that kind of impact on people.
Well, every iconic album starts with a really solid intro. Let's talk about your intro. What kind of kid were you growing up, and how did that early experience kind of lay the foundation to your sound as a person?
I mean, I was pretty. I was always into music since I was a kid. My mom and dad had a restaurant and nightclub in Columbus, Georgia, and they would have these '70s bands come and play over the weekend, and they would leave the equipment set up. And while she was doing inventory, then I would go in and just play on all the instruments or go DJ in the DJ booth or and before I was born, doing segregation in Columbus, my mom and dad kind of controlled the area that a lot of the black military guys would come to and stuff. So if like James Brown or Tina Turner performed, they had to come perform in that area and stay in that area in our house upstairs. And so it's been just, I think just, it was always the thread.
Rolling?
It was always a thread. And then by the time I was like 7, I started asking my mom to I would draw these keyboards all over my notebooks and stages and Kiss. And everybody was drawing Kiss, I think, back then. I would ask my mom, I said, get me a calculator keyboard. And every Christmas, get me a bigger one. Every Christmas I keep it, get me a bigger one. Because she's like, oh, you're not gonna be into music for long and all this stuff. I'm like, no, just give me a little calculator, and then every Christmas give me a bigger one. So that's what we were doing for like 3 or 4 years until I could get a big enough keyboard to play in local bands.
What would you say are some of your biggest influences growing up?
I mean, I think Prince has probably been my biggest influence on music in my life, period. Because when I first started looking at Prince records as a kid, it would say written, performed, composed, produced, and all. So I thought one person did everything. I never knew that it was a different story than a producer and a writer and a composer or whatever, because on the back of Prince's records, it just said one person did everything. And so that's how I learned to write. That's how I learned to produce, is listening to his songs and then wanting to be in his band. So I would act like I was in his band every day when I come home from school. I played my keyboard, put on Prince at the time, and just act like I was in their band and play along and play along and play along. I was obsessed with it. And my brother had to finance I finally got a keyboard big enough. And my brother had to finance it for like 7 years, like $1,200 or something. I was in the room playing, along with the records, playing along with the time records and stuff. And then my brother came and said, Mom said, clean up the room. And I told him, I said, when I'm playing keyboards, man, I ignore everybody. They don't talk to me. And they came in again and he said, Mom said, clean up the room. And I was listening to him and he picked my keyboard up and threw it. And when it broke, then of course I went crazy as a kid, and I went to my mom and I'm like, that's it, I'm leaving. I'm going to Atlanta. And she's like, what do you mean going to Atlanta? So I went to a Greyhound bus station around the street, crying and mad that he broke my keyboard.
How old were you?
11, 12, I think. So they moved there like when I was 13, 14. So and that was just like I felt like that keyboard was the saving grace that was gonna get me out of Columbus, you know what I'm saying? And when it broke, then I was just like, okay, my dreams are shattered, so I'm leaving anyway. My aunt lived in Atlanta. And so I went to the Greyhound bus station and was like, I'm out. And my mom was like, what do you think you're doing? You're not leaving from down. You can't just get up and go to Atlanta. And I was like, I'm leaving. And so she's like, well, look, it's late, no buses are going now. So using the mind trick, just come back home for the night, So I went back home for the night. I woke up the next morning, I saw my keyboard with the 2 keys missing again. There was like 2 keys broke off the side. I still had the rest of them. But then I got up and went back to the Greyhound bus station. And then so she came around there and she was like, you really gonna leave me on? I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, this dude broke my keyboard. I can't be a big record producer down here.
You want me to clean my room?
Yeah, like all of that, I'm out. And then she said, well, I'll tell you what, I know you're stubborn, because I was stubborn as a kid, because I was just so focused on music. I didn't want to do anything else. And she said, so look, give me 6 months So give me 3 to 6 months to sell the restaurant, and I'll come with you. And that's what we did. She sold the restaurant, and then she got a job at on Old National, which was we thought it was Atlanta because the first stop when he got here was College Park. So we moved to College Park, and she got a job working there, and I started going to high school in College Park, and that's where my journey really started in Atlanta. Because the word started getting out, this 13, 14-year-old kid that's playing keyboards around here, and I was trying to be in the bands, and then the only other person at the time that was doing the same thing was Jermaine Dupri.
Oh yeah.
And so that's when me and him met. And we went friends since neither one of us could drive. And I would go to his house and make beats on his beat machine, and vice versa. And we just started kind of dreaming about. It wasn't even that we were dreaming to make the music industry in Atlanta. I think we were just dreaming about, like, how do we hear ourselves on the radio, and how do we feel like, how do we do what everybody else is doing in music? But we didn't know, I think, at that time that we were going to turn it into a real music industry here,
What was the thought process of staying in Atlanta versus going to LA or a New York where the industries are a little bit more solidified at that point?
Well, I felt like, for one, in Atlanta, we were in the beginning, we were constantly trying to prove ourselves, right? Because in New York and LA, it got accepted for whether it's hip hop music or regular music or whatever. And here we had like Cameo and Peebo Bryson and maybe the SOS band. So we wasn't really solidified, like that yet. And so once we started to get, once I started with Another Bad Creation, I started with Joyce Irby before that. It was my first record. But then by the time I got to Another Bad Creation, which we were dressing them at Lenox, taking pictures of them where they were building a Georgia Dome at. Like, it was just all, us running around, making music, taking pictures, dressing the kids, just doing our own little thing, right? And again, you don't know how big anything is gonna be because you don't know any better yet. We're just having fun doing that and listening to the records in our car, And when ABC took off, and right behind that, then I did Boyz II Men, and right behind that with the TLC. And I started feeling like, for Atlanta, I was the only me here. If I go to LA and New York, I'm another producer, right? But
Yeah.
in Atlanta, I'm the only Dallas, so I could make more traction. And then I started to gain more control of like the actual city itself. Like by that time, music had really started to take off, and LaFace had come to town, and everything was just starting to just bubble. It started to be like, if you ain't from Atlanta, you're not cool. And so everybody in New York and LA started looking at us going, hey, what do they know that we don't know yet? And we were really just songwriting and kind of putting ideas and stuff together, not being scared to take everybody else's stuff and make one thing out of it. So, I would want to sound like Bomb Squad, Public Enemy. So I would take all my samples and put them in there. Then I want to write a song though, like Prince on top of it. But then I want to write a thing like that on, Minneapolis. And so it was just, I think, for us, we just did an amalgamation of taking all the best things, and then we started creating it. Myself, Jermaine would do the same thing. And when it started to put Atlanta on a real map, then we started to feel like, this is ours. And then we got protective of it. It was like, okay, we don't want nobody else coming trying to take our stuff.
Yeah.
They would call each other like Big Boy, and then would call us and say, man, some New York dudes trying to move down here. We don't know if we want to let that happen. It's like, everybody's really country, when it gets down to it. And we started to protect that value that we had. It's not like being in New York, LA, where somebody's standing there stabbing you in the back and being your friend. We don't do that in Georgia. We just either like you or we don't. So like a lot of us that from day one, whether it's Jermaine or Jazzy Faye or Rico or Tricky Stewart, all of us are just as much friends now as we were before. And I think that's what makes the Atlanta music scene, the ones that came after us, they still follow that same mold. So everybody's still in that same pocket. It's Coach K, or if it's like, everybody that's made it, we've all known each other since, 20, 30 years now.
I mean, you built something that continues to live. It's a legacy that grows on and on and on. What's a big swing that you've taken that required you to move outside of your comfort zone and resulted in something very positive?
That's a good one. I think it would have to be just actually having to dive into business. It was really uncomfortable for me. Because as a creative, the last thing I really want to do is deal with business people, because you always look at business people as somebody who's going to rip you off or do something. It's just never went together. So I always had either a manager or somebody that would deal with it. And then when it got to the point where I was just dealing with it, it took me out of a comfort zone of like things, sometimes you just don't want to do that. But you have to, and especially when it's like, dealing with radio people, stations, or anything that has, because I was really a shy kid. I didn't like to talk. I didn't start talking a lot until I was probably like 19. I would just listen to everything. And that's how I learned so much, is I was listening to everything. But it became really uncomfortable to have to step out to the front of dealing with business and really deal with it hands on and just be, even like, I don't like confrontation. So a lot of business is confrontation, and it makes it where I still get the same anxiety if I'm doing a business thing now than I would have got at 16. And it's not even like I think it's a big deal or nothing. It's just that it just comes along with me being more comfortable not dealing with that part and dealing with this part. But as I got, as I got more into it, I had to wanted to stop my business from being ripped off, or stop, and then to learn more about what my actual business was. Because when you're coming up in music, you don't look at it in any capacity as business. You look at it as like, I love to play this, I love the way it makes me feel, and everything else. And still to this day, you have a lot of artists who, they don't know how to deal with that part of the business of it. And a lot of it is for the same reasons, just uncomfortable, don't want to do the confrontation, don't want to better in his own. But it did change my life drastically, because I think if I'd have stayed on that same path, I probably wouldn't be here like this, And I've seen a lot of other people in music who didn't come up to that plate to take care of their business, and you tank, because you're only as good as, like, music is. It's not, it's not like being a doctor, obviously, it's like one of those things that people either listen to or not, or they can listen to, So it's coming out of a creative zone to actually be that black and white into something was probably my most uncomfortable thing that I had to do.
What do you think of as your biggest break?
My biggest break, I would say really what started it all was when I got to meet Gerald Busby from Motown. I did, the meeting him was when my life really changed, because before then we were making records to just listen to, but then once he got Another Bad Creation, and I like started hearing that on the radio and start saying, okay, this is gonna be real. It felt different at that point. And it's just like, I feel like he was the first one to kind of make me think of, like, made me think forward, right? Because he would say stuff like, Dallas, one day, song's gonna be 2 minutes and you're gonna only look at video clips for 30 seconds. And this was when I was 18. He was telling me stuff like that, So he was always really smart. And then when we did Boyz II Men with him also, that's when everything just started turning for me. Like, hearing the records, like being able to go to LA and hear your song in a grocery store, or get back in the car and just playing on the radio, or like, then you land in another place and there's your song playing on 2 or 3 different stations. Like, all that is a trip, because before that you just got it to yourself, it's like you and yourself. And a lot of times with music, I wouldn't like it after they came out, because I feel like, okay, now it's mine now, but once I release it, then it's everybody else's. So then I wouldn't even probably listen to the albums as much no more. But then it is one of those few things where you can not know anybody and they feel like they know you.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. It's like, oh my God, I love your songs. I love your songs. It's like, that's my real tipping point, was meeting Gerald and, like, really putting records, seeing that records could come out in that way, because we just didn't think of it like that. We just thought of it as Atlanta. And hopefully, they could play on a radio station here, or somebody might play it at a little club or a skating rink or something. But when you, land in a different place and your record is playing, or when you're in an arena, right, and all these people are singing the songs you wrote, it's a trip.
What would you say the Atlanta sound is? If you could describe Atlanta sound, what is the Atlanta sound?
It's interesting, because we used to have a sound, and it's always going to be the 808s, right? You're always going to have bass. But because all of us had different styles of music, like, my music would be different than Jazzy's or Tricky's or, or Organized. And so people would come to town and come to us for different things. So we go by Dallas's, then go to Jermaine's, then go over here to get some stuff organized, then go, and that was kind of, for years, that was like what the A&R program was. It's like, drop them off in Atlanta, let them go to Dallas, let them go to here. And then it would feel like, okay, if I had more pop rock or more pop stuff going on, and if, JD had more urban stuff going on, if this person had more hip hop going on, by the time you finish the project, it should sound like a good, complete project, So we never really had I think the one common sound is the 808 that we all have.
Yeah.
I remember Monica wouldn't sing songs unless they had 808s in it. So, but that's a product of us, like, going to the skating rinks and growing up,
Yes.
in dancing and in high school and stuff, and like just.
Can you skate?
Oh yeah, I
Backwards
still skate.
and
Yeah.
forwards?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Sideways.
sideways. Now sideways is crazy. Talent.
Yeah, that's what we, end up doing in the movie ATL. It was based off of me skating. And I would go to Jelly Beans and go to the skating rink to escape all of the other drama because, it's either the streets going on out there or you got to find somewhere to keep yourself busy. And so we would go to the skating rink and skate. So I ended up making ATL, the movie, about my days going to the skating rink and having T.I. play my character. And a lot of our music came out of that skating rink, like, because I would be in there, Organized Noise would be in there. The guy that owned the skating rink gave them a little room, so that's where they first started their first studio at. And I was already making records, and so then T-Boz would be over there dancing, so it was like everybody was really in this skating rink, and that was really we took a lot of the energy from that and put it into our records and put it into the music we were making.
I know that you just created the Sonic ID for FIFA for the World Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah, what was it like creating kind of that music, that sound that's
it was
going to be
interesting
iconic? That is iconic for the city.
I mean, when the mayor came and asked me to do it, he said we needed to feel international. We needed to feel like the city that we are, and so he thought I'd be the perfect person to do it. And so I just kind of went and the Sonic ID, they would have each place that they're having the games. Like if it's Miami here, they would have the city represented with their sound, so to speak. So the one from Miami was kind of like a dance record. And so I started listening to other people's, and I was like, well, our spirit is way higher than all this in Atlanta. It's the music city. I can't just like, oh, here's a Sonic ID. I got to make it represent what we are, so much spirit here. And so incorporating the 808s and then just having a chance, like, because ATL, we always like, ATL, we're so proud, And so when I did it and I finished it, I was like, okay, I want to see what Andre is going to think about it, because that's what he asked me to do it. So I want to make sure I'm representing him right. And as soon as they heard it, they called me back and they was like, this is amazing. This is it. This is it. Like, y'all like it? Yeah. This is it. This is amazing. So I was like, okay, mission accomplished. And then, for me, it's a part of history for us, even to have, we were here way before the Atlanta Uniteds and all that even became, staple here, because the game wasn't that big in America yet. So to see that we're actually hosting the World Cup, it's a big part of history for us.
Really?
And for me, it's a big part of, something I added to my little resume. I'm like, man, I got this too. I can take that.
And you pull from so many different sounds. I mean, marching band.
Yeah.
You hear a little bit of everything. Kind of, what are some sounds that you pulled from?
Yeah, right. I had to, because you think about Atlanta for us, Drumline was my movie also. So marching band is a big part of our.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nick Cannon plays my character in Drumline.
No way.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, thank you. That meant the world to me, because I always said when I made that movie that it's my story, because I couldn't read music, still can't read music, but the story of the band belongs to everybody that was in the band. So like if we get it right, it has to be right for everybody that's in the band, And so when we did the premiere here, to ride around with my mom and see everybody in the marching band outfits going to the movies, and it's all sold out, was like, couldn't even believe it. I filmed when I went to Fox, I was like, you gotta check out the movie about a marching band. They're like, what's interesting about that? And I went to the Georgia Dome and filmed the Battle of the Bands.
Yes.
I went back and showed it to them. And it was like, what is it? Nobody had ever heard of it. So that was a staple moment I think for me and for the marching band culture. And that being so strong out of Atlanta for us. Southwest DeKalb, which is a high school that played the A&T band and drumline. They thought it was a college band, but it's Southwest DeKalb high school band. And it's just been a part of between the 808s, marching band culture, the chants, the pop music side, all that stuff together is what really, ended up being our Sonic ID, because all of us grew up on the same things. Like, we would go to the games to watch the marching band.
The impact, I mean, you have the Sonic ID, you're continually to make impact around not just the city, but around the country. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you do that through your foundation?
Yes. I mean, one of the things that was really important to me when I started making music is to give back, because things I wish I had. Like, man, I wish I had a studio to work out of instead of, and I see a lot of the kids in the neighborhoods that we're from in College Park, and they're out in the streets. And they started going into the streets and selling drugs and stuff so they can get the money to buy beat machines. And so I'm like, oh, well, let's take that out of the equation. Then we go into the schools and put these studios in the school, and that way And I would do I go to do a pep rally and I say, okay, well, how many people want to be doctors? Yeah. How many people want to do this? Yeah. Music. Everybody hands go up, right? So now then I hit the 808 on a boom, boom, boom. So I got your attention. Now what's cool about this is that um, you need to learn your English so you can write your songs. You need to learn your math so you can count your money. All right. You need to learn your social studies so you can probably talk about some other places in your raps. So I started bringing them in through all these different avenues because for me, I used to always be like, I'm not going to need any of that. I'm doing music. And that's wrong. You need all that to do your music. But I didn't have anything, nobody pulled me in through that door, I was always kicking and screaming to go the other way because I didn't know that this would equate to my business or to my songwriting. And so when I talk to the kids and I say, this is all, and it takes a lot of people to make a record. It's not just, you got accounting, you got marketing, you got who's going to take the pictures, who's the stylist, so it's you don't have to actually do the music to be in the business. And that's what I would teach them through the foundation. It's kind of like, and I would go back to check on the kids at school and I see kids sitting over there with a tie on. Like, hey, you must be the manager, huh? Yeah, that's my guy. So yeah, you guys are getting it. And that's what's been the most impactful thing with the foundation is going to the schools and then going back, and having the kids come play me songs. Now, like, you won't believe how you change these kids' lives with just them being able to express themselves. Because a lot of times if you're going home to a broken home or you got problems with your parents or whatever else, and it's built up inside of you. And music has been everybody's outlet. And so I've sent kids to college. They come back to me and say, you won't believe how this kid's attitude has changed because he's in the music now. And, so that's what really the foundation has been about, is giving them that opportunity that I wish I had also. Because if that studio was in the school for me at that time, I would apply myself different.
Yeah.
And having to go outside to figure it out, So the foundation has been great to, especially for Atlanta, because people have seen their friends make it, or they've seen it's kind of low-hanging fruit, if you will say, because the thing about Atlanta is if you keep doing it long enough, you're going to go through the door. I've seen everybody from Ciara to Ludacris to, everybody. It's just Lil Jon. Everybody started over here, and then you see them over here at some point because they just didn't stop. And the town is small, so people started to even move here so they could just get, hey, I'm from Atlanta, connected to them, because people, look at us as the source for music and creativity. So you see a lot of people moving here just so they can get that I'm from Atlanta under their belt. The majority of people, the artists that's making music out aren't really from here. They just moved here early or they came here to make it. And when you see kids now that they have the opportunity to go into school and make their records and then can still bring them and upload them. And then so you can start seeing careers go early. If that kid is writing a great song at 15, 16 years old, he's going to be a great songwriter.
Yeah.
And then try to give them some encouragement and to help feed it. So the foundation has been really positive and really great for us and for the kids we have in it.
What is one thing you would tell your 15-year-old self?
Oh man, you're right. Don't stop. Because I was so like this about everything.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything but play music and play keyboards and want to write songs. I was just obsessed with it. And I would tell myself, man, you're right. Keep doing what you're doing right now. It's going to get you somewhere.
Don't doubt yourself.
Don't doubt yourself. And I always tell people, it's only a certain amount of hours a day, right? And if you look at somebody like even a Tiger Woods or someone, you can't help but to be great if you've been playing golf since 5. Like, and you're doing it every single day, all those hours, like it's impossible for you not to be great at it. So I always tell people, tell kids to, if you're not obsessed with it, find what you're obsessed with. If you're obsessed with making donuts, you're gonna be a great you might own the next Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts, you might make those, but like.
We need another one.
Yeah. So I just try to tell kids, be obsessed. If you're obsessed, you're doing the right thing.
What's a value that's really carried you throughout your life?
The biggest value of my life is probably my mom, just like the way I was raised. I was raised to like, stay humble and stay on the ground, and like I'm never really. I feel like the whole ego part that a lot of us get in music business, I never really understood it because I feel like, man, it's only one way to go when you go up is back down. So I just gotta stay on the ground and just try to treat people like you want to be treated. So is what I learned, and then also. It's a vulnerability, like I said, that comes with us because it is people trying to get at you all the time or trying to cut deals or trying to get something from you and all that stuff. And you just gotta put it in its place. And I think my mom taught me to just stay calm and stay respectful and treat people how you want to be treated. Always just be courteous. And it's a part of also being in the South. I always tell people, even the gangsters around here, they were like, wipe your feet before you go to Miss Johnson's house. Your mom would be like, take those goals out your mouth when you come in here. Respect your thing. So it's really just carrying that respect and just staying God-like to people. You know, I always say I'm here to help God out. When I'm done, I go back home.
Yeah. What's one quote or mantra that you live by every day?
One of my things is out of frustration comes innovation. Because I'm always like, you know, anytime I'm frustrated with something, I know it's time, that tipping point is coming in, you know. And I like to kind of, you know, I like to push the envelope, you know, so to the next point. And usually when you get to that point, it's something special is going to happen. That's the only time a tipping point comes in is when people get frustrated with something else.
Out of frustration comes innovation. I love that. What are you innovating right now?
Technology and music.
Technology, yeah.
Music technology.
You're frustrated about
I'm
it.
frustrated about it. I want to be able to talk to everything. I want to walk in and just say, turn on. And I want to say, you know, take my thing from Logic, take my tracks from here and put it over there. Give me 1960s, you know, Balinesian samples I can hear. Like, I want to be able to talk and ask my stuff to work for me the way I can do with everything else. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
And to see just how things have changed and has been innovated over this time. And it's just, it's scary, but it's amazing at the same time.
It is. Well, it's been a joy to talk with you. I mean, it's really cool to speak with someone that has had such a pivotal role in my childhood and adulthood through music. So
that's amazing.
this has been awesome.
Yeah, that's been amazing.